All right, Chad. So now we're gonna sit down, have a cigar, and have some Horse Soldier bourbon and some Warfighter cigars, Warfighter Tobacco, and then you're gonna tell us your story.
All right.
Tackett Family Ranch. There you go. Cheers.
Cheers. Glad you came out today. It's been good. And that steak came out perfect, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You know, on the YouTube videos and whatnot, people are always going to go, oh, this tastes so good. We destroyed that. Just sitting out in the field, we just destroyed a steak by hand.
So, you served in multiple theaters, multiple campaigns. I know you said you were Iraq, Afghanistan, GWAT, original GWAT?
Yeah, 2002
Yep.
was my first trip to Afghanistan.
Okay. So then also, but before that, because you were in the military for over 20 years, right?
Yeah, I did 22 years.
22 years. So in that time, were there other locations? I mean, that you went?
I did some of the normal overseas stuff like Germany. I was even stationed in England, which is not as normal. But while I was in Germany, we got called up for Bosnia, the Operation Joint Endeavor.
Oh.
So that was one that you don't hear about too much, but we basically loaded up our trucks on a train and rode down through Hungary and everything and got to Croatia, offloaded in Croatia, and then drove into Bosnia. There's a huge history behind why the Bosnians and the Croats and the Serbs are all fighting each other. Goes back decades, but basically they signed a peace accord and said, we want, American troops or international troops are going to go down and break them up and split up the sides. And what was interesting about that was we didn't have like up-armored Humvees. We didn't have any of that stuff that I ended up later having in like Iraq and Afghanistan. We had just our standard European green camo, soft skin Humvees. And I had a 577 track. And I can remember my commander at the time saying, well, we're going to line the bottom of your track with sandbags so that if we hit minefields, you're going to just drive through. And I was like, I'm not really cool with that idea.
I remember one of the guys because I was in a combat engineer unit, and one of the guys that was in Bosnia was telling me about that, where they just put sandbags in the bottom of if they could grab it, they would find some steel plate to put underneath it, and then put more sandbags on top of it. That's interesting.
Yeah, pretty much run what you brung. And then we ended up, and there's a great history behind this. There's a great, some great footage online. We crossed the Sava River. We built, the Army built, the combat engineers built a bridge, a floating bridge, series of like rafts that are connected across this. Well, they had like 1,000-year flood that year. And of course, it's December, end of December, beginning of January. And this is the Balkans. So if you've not been cold before, the Balkans is like Siberia cold. So I had every piece of snivel gear the Army issued me on. I had polypros, I had layers upon layers with Gore-Tex and everything else. And these poor engineers got flooded out. And it floated chunks away and they had to rebuild the bridge. So like you're pulling up and there's a GP medium tent that you can only see the top of the pole. And you'd see like a duffel bag floating down the river.
Oh, wow.
So it was crazy. We were offering them like, hey, do you want an extra t-shirt? And they're like, no, we got stuff, we're good. But as we're driving onto this thing, the guy that's guiding you up basically says, hey, if your vehicle stalls or anything, just stand fast. We'll come and disconnect you, push you out, and push a new section of bridge in to keep everybody going. So we're like, well, what happens to the vehicle that stalled that you're breaking free? And they're like, we'll come down river and get you later.
Oh, wow.
So he's like, whatever you do, don't stall your vehicle and don't, and these aren't, I think my track was Vietnam era track when I looked up the serial number. Like it had been rebuilt in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
So we were a little nervous, but we had the heaters cranked. We made it across. And it was like we flew because we were trying to keep up with the tanks. And we didn't know what to expect. This wasn't like it was. Yeah, they signed the agreement, but we rolled in, and it was just like, well, it is what it is. It's who's going to be there, and we don't know if they're going to fight us or going to shoot at us or what. So it was an interesting time. It was an entire year living at a campsite too. So I lived up on a hilltop. I can still remember the grid coordinates of this hilltop that overlooked, not far from the Sat and the Thumb, and we put a tent up, and we were heating MREs, and we were heating up T-Rats. We had immersion heaters, like a garbage can talk about sous vide, garbage can with a can of fuel that drips.
Oh, yeah.
And so as it lights and drips and fires, it heats up the water in the garbage can. So metal garbage can with a fire and dripping open flame. Talk about dangerous.
In a tent, too.
Well, yeah, we had them in the tent, too.
That's funny.
You can tell I don't smoke cigars all the time. I have a hard time keeping it lit.
Well, you're also talking, too. That's part of the problem with enjoying a cigar with it. I'm gonna have a good time keeping mine lit because I'm not talking much. But you don't when you're actually having a conversation, puffing on it. But yeah, but it's nice to sit back and enjoy a cigar with you because it's
So they used to give us these things called T-Rats, and it looks like if you've ever gone to the store and gotten a lasagna in a metal pan that you pop in the oven. Imagine that, only it's sealed. You have to use a can opener to open it. And so you get this box, and it would have like chicken and gravy and a bunch of other stuff. Or we had like green eggs and ham. It would be like this Western omelet with chunks in it. And what you do is you just take that whole pan and throw it in that garbage can and boil it. And then when you're done, you pull it out, which is hot metal. So you have to wear like welding gloves, and you have to cut it open with a can opener without slicing your wrists and cutting yourself. And then you're eating it, and it, prepackaged military food that's designed to last for a long time is usually very salty, very not what I would call healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So we started out, I would take the chicken from the chicken and gravy, rinse it all off, cut it up into bits, and cook it in a metal, like a wok that I had fashioned over our heater, and I would make like chicken fajitas.
Nice.
Then we found a local farmhouse not far from where we lived on this hill with a little Muslim family, Muslim Bosnian family, and they had chickens and goats and stuff, and so we started buying chicken eggs from them. And I would come up, and for breakfast, I'd be up there making omelets in my little wok pan thing. And we ended up actually getting a chicken from them, got a rooster from them, and I brought it up. And of course, I've got these Cav Scout guys with me and all these other guys, and they're like, what are you going to do with the chicken? I'm like, we're going to eat it.
Because it was still live at this point.
Oh, yeah, I walked up with it. We had some interpreters, and so I walked back up the hill with the interpreter, chicken under my arm, and I'm like, we're eating good. The meat's back on the menu tonight, boys. So we ended up, I had a little impromptu class on how to butcher a chicken, dip it down in that immersion heater and take the feathers off, and after I had drained it and done all the other bits. So I'm putting chicken in this pan, again, making chicken fajitas. I had somebody in Germany mail me tortillas in a care package. I had tortillas, and I had a brick of cheese that I was shredding cheese off it. Nice. And I had a thing of like lemon pepper and Spanish Mexican seasonings. And so I'm up there making chicken fajitas, and in the middle of the winter in Bosnia, there's like 4 feet of snow on the ground. And
man, those are probably the best chicken fajitas you ever had.
They were pretty good.
Well, part of that, what I found with all this stuff is it doesn't have to be like off the chain good, because when you're in conditions like that, anything. Oh man, anything a step above what you're having now is always going to be. Well, oh my God, that was the best.
I am not a chef. Never claimed to be one, but even going into the chow halls, and I'm like, oh, they're doing the same thing again. Well, I would pick and choose stuff and then combine it differently than how they did it. I'd get like chicken tenders, bring them off to the side, coat them with hot sauce and buffalo sauce type of stuff. Go get a wrap from one of the wrap tables if they had the sandwich tables, and throw some lettuce and stuff in there and make like a buffalo chicken wrap. So I'm sitting there eating that, and dudes are like, where'd you get that? And I'm like, well, I got the tenders over here, and I got this over there. And Because as you can tell,
Cicadas.
I like to eat. I like to eat. So yeah, that was I mean, I've grilled every country I've been in. We've grilled. We've had grills set up in Afghanistan. We've had grills set up in Iraq. Throw something together and or if you ask nicely at most chow halls, you can get some meat to go. Like he said earlier, always be nice to your chow people and your medical people.
Yeah, Doc and the mess sergeant. Always the guys, somebody who's middle to high ranking in the mess area.
Yeah.
And somebody and keep Doc happy. And dude, always protect Doc. And next one in line is always protect the mess sergeant, because he's likely to get you good stuff whenever he gets portioned out stuff. He's like, you treat him good, he'll take care of you. That's funny. I just did a video talking about my uncle's service in Vietnam, and he had a great relationship with his mess sergeant, and he was always welcomed in the enlisted chow hall.
Oh yeah.
Because the mess sergeant made sure you're good. Come on, come in here and have, and he took care of his guys too. That was the other thing too. My uncle is a very, very compassionate, God-fearing human being that just like, best in the world. But yeah, just that mess sergeant, always keep him happy.
So my grandfather was a World War II vet, and then I had several uncles on my mom's side of the family that were all Air Force pilots and different things and whatnot. So, there's a history there. But yeah, like I said, Bosnia was 95. We went in 95 and got there first, and then the rotation started from 96 to 97, I think. Yeah, somewhere in there. It's been a day or two. But it's funny,
you've slept since then.
Yeah. I work with a lot of younger soldiers and airmen and sailors and whatnot, and I'll say something about Afghanistan in 02, and they're like, I wasn't born in 02. Or I was, in grade school in 02 or something like that. And I'm like, I'm getting old.
My second kid was born right after I got back after September 11th, and I came back from Saudi Arabia. It's like, I got 4 kids now. And my youngest one's turning 18 this month.
I know.
It's like, oh crap.
I have 18-year-olds now, and then I was an AIT instructor, and I was thinking about this not too long ago. All the kids that I taught in AIT are eligible for retirement if they haven't already retired.
Oh wow!
Because I was an AIT instructor. I started in 2000 to like 2002. Took a little break to go to Afghanistan. Took a summer off to go to summer abroad.
Yeah.
And then came back. I thought about making a T-shirt, like the world tour, winter in the Balkans, summer in the Middle East, all the greats.
It's like you're an foreign exchange student.
University of Baghdad summer program.
Well, you mentioned earlier, I don't know if it was in the video or not, but you mentioned earlier about, part of the reason why you got into the ranch when we were talking beforehand. I think it was before we started filming. But, one of the ideas that the thing that planted the seed about having a farm, and you were talking about that. What can you remind me?
Whether you're a veteran or not, if you are a veteran, you've been to Afghanistan or Iraq or any of these countries, it's not uncommon to be out on a post, a patrol, guard tower or whatever, and you're watching and you see, usually it's a young child with a herd of goats or something. And it's, the landscape over there is not, there's parts of Afghanistan that are beautiful, but there's a lot that's just not. And, you're like, man, these people are literally dirt farmers, and they're living in a hut, and they've got their goats that they're raising, or their sheep or whatever. And I'm like, you know what, if they can do it in that austere environment, plus getting shot at and landmines and everything else, I kind of don't have an excuse myself not to try to do it and be able to do it. Another thing, and I didn't really mention this to you earlier, is food is kind of becoming a national security concern. I mean, I don't want to sound too all crazy, but if you look, meat, during COVID, the stores were empty.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because I have a lot of regular customers that, called me on the phone and were like, hey, I just went to Kroger's and they don't have any beef. And I'm like, really? They're like, do you happen to have any beef? And I go, I happen to have some beef. And I said, I'm not raising my prices either. I didn't try to get anybody. And I said, tell you what, I'll meet you somewhere halfway. We'll both wear masks. We were doing a little like a exchange. And it kind of felt a little creepy. We're meeting in an alley, handing stuff off for money. Here's a bag. Give me the money. But yeah, I was selling ground beef like crazy. And I had actually had a surplus at the time because the local restaurant that we do support with ground beef was just about to open when COVID hit.
Oh, no.
Horrible timing.
Is that Backpedal?
Mm-hmm.
Backpedal Brewing.
Backpedal Brewing, where we serve...
Lincoln, Georgia.
Right here. And he serves other farms as well, but it started out with just us. But I had been stockpiling ground beef to be able to handle whatever depth of how much he sold. I didn't want to be shorthanded. So I was selling literally I had these sheets of ground beef, pre-made ground beef patties, no seasonings or anything, just ground beef. And I think there was, 6 or 7 or 8 pounds in this one sheet, vacuum sealed from the USDA processor. And I had boxes of it. And so once that kind of got out on the street that I had ground beef, I had people calling, and one guy bought a sheet and called me back a couple days later, and he's like, oh my God, that was the best burgers I've ever had. And he goes, do you have any more? And I go, I do. He goes, well, how much is that whole box? And I'm like, well, that's like $400 or whatever by the time you add it up. And he's like, oh, I'll take it. I'm like, all right, cool. So I ended up selling like 400 or 500 pounds of ground beef during COVID. Plus, I had just taken like 3 steers in right before this happened. All 3 of those sold immediately. So I did okay through that whole time period as far as selling beef. And because of that, there was kind of a resurgence in who are my local beef producers, my pork, my chicken, whatever.
Yeah, where's my food coming from?
And I think more people started thinking that way.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's kind of a national security concern as well, or as a local concern. Everything we do is so dependent upon trucks and everything else. If they're shipping it in from another country, what do you think's going to happen if the fuel dries up or?
Well, they had that problem in the ports.
Yeah, those ports locked
all the
up.
Supply chain issues where the ports got backed up and they couldn't unload all the stuff because they had the union strikes at the ports.
That bridge in Maryland. Yep. I mean, any of that kind of stuff. If you think about it, trains derailing. Again, not to go full conspiracy tinfoil hat.
Tinfoil hat warning.
But, if everything is a just-in-time type of scenario where, the delivery happens on Friday, they unpack it, and they're sold out by Sunday, well, you miss a delivery, and that, So yeah. I wanted to make sure that, at least for myself and my family and for as many people as I could support, we keep it here, and, we work on the supply chain here every day. And normally it's just me driving it, picking it up from the butcher or dropping it off to the butcher. So as long as my truck's running, we're okay.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate what you're doing. And I've part of the reason I started this channel was I wanted to highlight veterans that have gone into what I would consider the supply chain, food supply chain, right? Because they're moving on from their military careers, whether they served 6 years or
it's a second calling. And I think a lot of vets do really well. There's great resources. The USDA is partnering with Farmer Veteran Coalition, and there's even more on down. But a lot of veterans still feel the need to do something, to serve.
It is in a way, because if you volunteered to serve our country, to defend it, now you've gone into now you're serving the country again.
Yeah.
You're serving your local community, and you're still serving. And that's one of the things that I like is like veterans like Backpedal Brewing, like Farmer T down the road, and some of these other farmers and other people that are in the supply chain, the guys that are growing it, guys that are cooking it, guys that are starting businesses from scratch, like Horse Soldier Bourbon, something to go with the food. You got grill your ass off seasonings. They're providing seasonings to go with your beef and with all along the process. The guys that are veteran-owned businesses that are doing the grills, or doing their charcoal, whatever it is, right? That I want to highlight that because it's another step in the line of service, because you don't ever really stop serving.
If you're a veteran-owned business making charcoal, please let me know.
Absolutely.
I'll buy some charcoal from you.
Yeah, because that's the to me, I think that's one of the most important things that veterans do is they, even if it's subconscious, it's a subconscious thing to serve others, and something bigger than yourself.
It is, and again, that security, national defense security kind of a, we don't really talk about it in that way, but that, hey, if stuff stops working, we still have food. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. It could be a hurricane. It could be, trucks broke down that weekend. The fuel lines all got hacked, and now we can't get fuel for the trucks. I mean, that happened, like, what was it, a couple years ago, last year or two?
Yeah, where they slowed down
the
production.
pipeline.
The pipeline where they had to reboot everything, and it prices got spiked for like a month till they got back to.
And here's the thing too: if you get to know your local farmer and you know the deal, you know how to get a hold of them. So even if the phones are down or something, and you know how to get a hold of them, and
you know where he lives, you know where the farm is.
So it's a joke, people. So anyway, take care of us, we take care of you. If I've got a couple 100 pounds of beef and I've got customers that have been supporting me for a couple years, of course I'm going to tell them when they call me, yeah, I've got something. Even if I got to dig into my own freezer and be like, hey, I got some out of my stash, but that'll get you through until, till we can get another one in.
Yeah.
And getting to know your producer and knowing how they do things and all that. I mean, that it makes a difference.
Oh yeah,
it makes a difference.
Well, I think too, people really respect the idea of, you've carved this area out. I mean, you've had to do work here to make this the way it is. And I've been around the property. I've been here. I've seen the parts of this that you've been having to expand in order to help provide bigger opportunity for your cattle to do it, because you're not doing like some of these other big farmers are doing, where they put grain out and they're planting fields and they've got thousands of acres. You're having to try to carve out a pasture out of each of these little, because it was mostly woods here, right?
Yeah, I mean, this was where we're at right now was a pasture. It was part of a larger cattle ranch before, but these little bits we've been breaking out of the woods and trying to do some stuff called silvopasture, where we run the graze cows alongside the trees. We do grass-fed, we do rotational grazing. We try not to leave them on a particular field for too long. It's been tough the last 2 years because we've had some events happen, and there's been some weather events happening that kind of put a damper on things. So we're making some adjustments, changing some things up, but we're going to add in some more fields, more native grasses, and have the ability to segregate cows off and do more with them. Pull the moms separately off from the steers. So if I do need to feed the moms separately, I can without compromising the steers.
Right.
It's a little bit easier to do if you have more land fenced in. And then, we've actually, like I said, we're at 200 acres here, and we just opened up another 65, roughly, that we're going to get fenced off here pretty soon.
And well, the other thing too is it's not just put the cows out there and they fend for themselves in the grass. You have to provide water. You have to provide hay if the grass isn't growing.
Yes.
Yeah, when it's dry out and the grass isn't growing, you gotta supplement in the wintertime when if you don't have any winter rye going.
And that goes back to, just like I tell people to make friends with their farmer, I make friends with my haymaker. The guy that makes my hay is a wonderful family. I go up and visit him, and I take him steaks. So I go pick up some hay. His family comes, and his father and his kids and stuff are out there, and I'll bring them steaks, and I gave his kids little toy stuffed longhorns to play with. But yeah, I mean, you got to make those relationships and keep them. When we were going through the drought, he's like, "Don't worry, boss, I got you. I'll have plenty of hay for you this year." I called him up early on and was like, "Hey, I know things are tough. Do you need me to buy you the hay now so you have the cash to get you through this period, because the fuel, that's like $4 a gallon, and we were hitting a drought at the same time.
Diesel's cheaper than gas right now.
It was like $3.70 or something. And you know, when diesel goes up, my tractor runs on diesel. This little UTV runs on diesel. You know, it
eats.
It adds up.
It does.
You know, I may not be buying grain, but that means I have to do double with the grass, and I have to make sure they have hay all winter. Talking too much.
No, it's okay. So I just wanted to check and make sure that it was still recording, because
we have rambled for a little bit.
We have, and I was making sure that the
battery didn't die.
Well, the memory didn't run out.
Oh,
because videos eat up a lot of memory.
Yeah. Like I said, you can edit. And
I had 20-something gigs of space, so that I just want to make sure I had enough in there. But all right, just some of this I'm probably going to cut out.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I figured give you more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To work with.
Well, that's why I'm also asking questions. There might be something that we might be able to put into a smaller video for a short or something that we can cut out and do a little
well,
section.
We've covered a lot of the good ones, the food security, and longhorns are cool.
I also want to top off and put a little more in there, because you know, I'm out.
This tastes like I'm not going to work tomorrow. Well, wait, I'm not going to work tomorrow.
It tastes like I'm going to work tomorrow. I might have some anal glaucoma. Can't see my ass showing up to work tomorrow.
That's a good one. I say cranial rectal inversion.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Do you want to grab some more ice?
Yeah, ice. Is it in here?
Yeah, it's in the front there. But you know what? I wish this was like the job all the time.
Well, me too. That's the other thing too. Is I'll get more of the water in mine.
Well, that's going to finish that bottle off.
Yep, that's all right. But what was your job in the Army, if you mind me asking?
So
or can you say?
Oh, I can say. I mean, it's on the paper anyway. I was started out as an enlisted E1 signals intelligence analyst, and I made it all the way up to E7, and then I was a detachment first sergeant, and I had 2 warrant officers walk into my office and go, "How come you never went warrant officer?" And I said, "Well, I had a full flight package in at one point in time, because I wanted to fly. And when I first joined the military, I wanted to fly. The Air Force recruiter was like busy that day, because they were always busy. And so I talked to the Army, and the Army guy was like, "Yeah, you can fly helicopters." I was like, "Cool, I've seen that movie with Nicolas Cage where he's flying helicopters. That sounds like fun."
That was a goofy movie.
It was. But I was like 16 at the time.
It all looked good back then.
It
like
did.
Iron Eagle.
It did.
Those,
yeah, exactly. So I wanted to do that. And then he explains to me that I have to go in and be a warrant officer, and that I'm going to have to join for like 8 years up front, and then I'm going to owe them an extra 6 years after I get out even. But that's kind of lost on a 16, 17-year-old brain. Because I'm thinking the Army's going to be like in the war Vietnam movies where the guy comes in with the trash can every morning and bangs, and you have to get out of your bunk. I'm thinking 8 years of that. Right? Because I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, my grandfather didn't want to really talk about much of his time in World War II.
Well, that's a common.
Right. Now, after I came back from being in the Army, he was a little bit more willing to talk to me, because I was one of them now.
Well, yeah. You've
I understood.
What is it? That's the it's the crap. I forgot what it was called. It's the trauma.
Yeah. You've trauma bonding.
Trauma bonded. You're now trauma bonded with him, because you've been through some of the same stuff.
Exactly.
Different time frame. A little bit different, probably a little softer than his.
And I was stationed at Fort Polk in Louisiana, and he would like tell me about Camp Polk during the Louisiana maneuver days for World War II.
Oh God! Well,
that was back in the day.
Well, I probably stayed in some of the barracks.
My ass.
Yeah, showing your ass off. Yeah. Hey, grill your ass off. That's what we just did. We just grilled some ass off. So you have 3, right?
4.
4. Only 3 up here right now.
There's another one around here somewhere.
Probably on around somewhere. Anyway.
Where was I going with that?
I don't know. You're
Thank God you can edit this later.
Fort Polk. I've got stories from Fort Polk.
Anyway, so I came in enlisted. When I took the ASVAB test, apparently I was really smart when I was younger. I did really well, and the recruiter opened the books up and basically said, you can do anything. You can do anything in the Army you want to do, because I didn't want to go do for 8 years. I was like, all right, let's look at the 4-year plan. And he opened up the book. Well, while he's doing that, I look over his shoulder and I see this clipboard, and it's got lines and stuff on it with red circles. And I went, hey, just out of curiosity, why are those circled in red? He said, oh, those are the jobs that are really hard to fill. And I said, oh, because they're like really dangerous or something? He goes, well, no, some of them because people aren't qualified. Because like one of them was oboe player.
For the band.
For the band. And he goes, you'd be surprised. He said, because you only have like 2 or 3 oboe players in the band, and most high schools only have like 1 or 2 oboe players.
Right.
So now you got to find a 16-year-old girl, typically, is the oboe player, who wants to join the Army. Mm-hmm. And there's only like 1 in the entire high school, so it's not like you have a dozen to choose from.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, cool, I get it. And I said, well, what's this one? And he goes, I don't know what that job is.
It's one of those MOSs. It's kind of obscure.
He goes, I've never put anyone in that job before, and I've never heard of it before, but there's a lot of criteria. And I said, tell me more. And so he pulls it up, and he opens up the book, and he reads the description, which, you know, typical is must be able to lift this many pounds, must be able to type a keyboard. And he's like, I don't know, it's some kind of like systems analyst or something. I'm like, we didn't have the internet back then. Believe it or not, did not have the internet back then.
Had the call an airstrike cell phones.
So I asked a guy, a friend of the family, who had been a Vietnam vet, and I asked him if he knew what this job was. And he was like, yeah, I think I do, man. And he tells me a story, and I said, well, that sounds kind of interesting. And so when I asked the recruiter, I said, okay, well, why is that one circled in red, and what's all these other numbers? He said, well, there's an $8,000 cash bonus for you to graduate that school. And he goes, and he said, see that low over there? He says, I get a bonus, not a cash bonus, but he gets like a gold star on his eval or whatever if he gets somebody put into that MOS. One of the girls talking to you?
Yeah.
Longhorns are really friendly in the most part. You don't want to mess with their babies, and you don't want to mess with them if they're not known to you, but they're very gentle, very intelligent cattle.
And they're skittish, which is weird because they have those big horns.
Well, because they don't know you. They actually will recognize a face. But I keep mine a little on the feral side anyway, just because I don't want them to just walk out and get onto somebody's trailer.
Yeah.
Cattle theft hasn't really been a problem here in Lincoln County, but...
Well, you're far enough back in the woods. Most people don't even know how to get back here to get to the cattle because they're not like right by the road. Where some farmers where you can drive by and you can see their cows out in the field, you can't see yours in the field.
That's how we like it.
Even when you put them in that field that you're setting up over there, they're not going to be seen from the road.
That's how we like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ended up later going back and putting in a warrant officer packet, and going to warrant officer school at, gosh, I don't know, I was in my 30s. Let's see. It would have been in 2000. I commissioned in 2006. I went to school in 2005, and we were one of the last classes that was still the long version of the course, because they later adapted it and changed it to be more in line with regular officer course. The original warrant officer course was designed to get you to quit. It was designed to do 2 things. One, to get you to quit if you didn't want to be there.
Find out how dedicated you are.
And to teach you, because they were taking high school kids to go be pilot. And if you tell a pilot, hey, we need a quarter left stick, rudder, flap, whatever, you need to be exact. So there was things like, the lamp must be this space, and, you had to abide by all those rules. And that was the school trying to square you away before you went to flight school. Well, I was a tech warrant. I wasn't going to go be a pilot. So I was like, whatever, that's cool. That's cool. So I ended up doing my last 6-7 years. Made it to CW2. I came out on the CW3 promotion list. And when I had gotten back from Iraq, just not doing well medically. And I said, no, I'm done. I'm going to retire. And retired in 2012 and then went to work as a private contractor, still doing government stuff here locally. So,
Gotcha. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking time, smoke a cigar with me.
dude, it's always nice to see you. And I've known Tracy for a long time now. So,
yeah, I want to incorporate a lot of these friendships that I've accumulated with veterans and all that stuff, and I want to make new ones too. You know, one of the things I always tell people when we're doing, you know, when I'm doing the, like on my normal channel or my normal videos, I'm expressing somebody's story. I'm telling somebody's story that they've sent me, and when I get done, I always like, you know, if you have a story that you want to share, I want to share it as well, because I think it's important for us to know we're not alone. Because I think that's what happens to a lot of veterans. Is my experience is it as unique as it is, yours isn't the only one that's like that.
Right.
And you're not alone.
And a lot of the younger guys, I say younger, but a lot of the younger guys that came back from the different things, you know, it's not the 50s and it's not the 60s and it's not post-World War II. We're not going to just let me hop down to the VFW and hang out with my buddies.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel right to the younger veterans. Nothing against the VFWs or anything. I'm just saying it's a different generation. And that's what's great about the YouTube videos and the internet and that sort of thing is I can go online and I watch different podcasts and stuff, and it's veterans talking about veteran stuff, and sometimes I'm laughing my ass off because they're telling a funny story about something that happened, and sometimes it gets dark, but at the same time you're like, yeah, man, I've been there, I know that. I get it.
Yeah, one of my favorite podcasts that I've been listening to that my wife hates that I listen to it is the Unsubscribed podcast.
I was thinking of the exact same one.
Yeah, and another one I listen to is the Freedom Friends podcast.
Yep.
One of my buddies he's on the Freedom Friends podcast, and it's done by the Warfighter Tobacco guys.
Well, you need to tag Unsubscribe in this because I've been watching their videos for a while, and I think we need to they do range days and they do all kinds of crazy stuff, but I think those guys need a break. We need to come out here to the farm somewhere and set up a pavilion with a grill and just sit around and grill and do this sort of thing. And
well, it's therapeutic.
It is.
It's one of those things. This is the way, because we've all been trauma bonded in a form or fashion, right? Through the military service. You know, I mean, you get guys from the Korean War, Vietnam, Grenada. I mean, I see that at the Round Canopy Parachute Team when we go down there for the thing. We have guys from all different ranges of conflicts, right? Special Forces guys. And a lot of the stories are pretty much the same. Not same as in the content, but same as in the experiences. Yeah. Some of the same kind of experiences. Yes, each one had a different one as far as the location, age, time frame, what time of year it was, all that kind of stuff. But
so one of the reasons when we go into another country and help rebuild their military, one of the reasons their military, like usually Iraq and the Afghanistan militaries, do not do as well as ours is because they don't go through a basic training like we did.
Right.
That trauma bonding of the commonality of we all went to basic, we all got our head shaved, we all got yelled at by some mean drill sergeant, we all snuck a snack out of the mess hall or whatever, we all got a blister when we marched to the range. You can put any veteran from any conflict area or any time of service and put them together in the room, and if they don't like each other and they don't even know what to talk about, you can go, tell me about your drill sergeant.
Yep.
And he's going, oh, we had this guy and he was this or whatever. There's a commonality.
Right.
And when you have foreign armies that don't go through that, they don't have that. And so they don't have a sense of commonality. You mentioned, though, about like therapeutic. I often use the term agritherapy.
Right.
You can have had an absolute crap day, crap week, whatever, and come out, and when there's a little calf born.
Like these two calves right here.
I got little calves over here. Pan over to that. That's adorable. You know what I'm saying?
Just cute as can be. Oh, just cute as can be. Yeah, these cows.
I hope I'm not hotboxing into your mic too much with trying to keep this lit.
Oh, that's all right.
They're absolutely gorgeous, though. But I can come out on a day. I mean, we have cicadas, but if you listen,
It's,
I can roll out here and just check on my cows.
this is nature, man.
And you know, and they will force you to slow down. You can't come in here all angry and try to force them to get onto a trailer. They're going to fight you tooth and nail. But if you come out and you come up with a plan, you open the gates and you encourage them quietly, mellow, well, they'll follow along and do what you want. You saw how I just moved them up here earlier.
Oh yeah, all you do is open the gate up and they're like, hey, all right, it's time to move. Let's go. Hey, he's got some new fresh grass for us. Woohoo!
They're ready to go back.
Yeah,
so when we get done here, I'll run them back down.
Yeah, it's like, we've already eaten all the grass we want to eat out of here. We're ready to go back in the shade. I want to go back in the back field. But, man, I really do appreciate this. I really appreciate you having me out.
Good time. It was a good time.
And I
very therapeutic.
Yeah, and I think this is something that I really want to do this series. I want to go around. I want to meet some of the other veterans in the area. I want to go down and see John Jackson down in Middlesville. I want to see Farmer T. I love what he's got going on with his pigs, because he has beef and stuff, but he's buying small cows from a couple people. He's not raising cows, but I understand what he's doing, and he's doing a great thing, and he's found a little niche, right? And he's selling to some restaurants with his he does a lot of whole pigs, for whole roaster pigs and stuff.
Yeah, I've gotten them from him and cooked them whole on my rotisserie.
Oh man, that's just, to me, that's awesome. And I want to highlight some of the guys like that. And you know, I'm glad I got to do you and come out here and do your farm. You were the first one that said yes, because it's kind of it's kind of intimate. I mean, it's kind of, I'm coming out here, I'm getting in your business a little bit.
We're looking behind the curtain.
Yeah, and so I understand that there's I'll do my best to respect your story, respect your process, your method, and respect your service. And I thank you for your service. I was reserves. I spent some time active, but most of my time was reserves. I did deploy, but I volunteered for that deployment before it got hot. Yeah. And I was fortunate enough that I didn't have to be involved in any of the hot stuff. But I respect all the veterans that did get in the hot stuff. I feel less of a veteran in the sense that I didn't have to participate in that stuff because there were other guys that did it. I'd already started my family real hot and heavy. I had the opportunity to get out.
Yeah. And
I got out because my family was still young, and I didn't want to miss out on that. Which I had to weigh that option.
You got to make your decisions. I mean,
yeah.
I hope and pray we never go back to a draft.
Absolutely.
But who knows?
You might have to.
Who knows?
But I appreciate you taking the time with us.
Thanks for bringing such great cigars and bourbon and
absolutely. Warfighter Tobacco. I've had other cigars. I mean, Fuentes were like my go-to, and I had a Fuente the other day, and I'm like, it's not a Warfighter.
I don't buy cigars. I don't smoke cigars very often, but I've been deployed and people have offered them to me, so I don't know, but this is really smooth and really good.
This is a Maduro. They're a 50 cal Garrison Maduro. Real short cigar, kind of a quick burn. As far as it's not like one of the long, big, huge sticks. But man, I like the 50 cal because it's a darker wrapper, which is a little sweeter. It's not as not as bitter. I got into smoking cigars when I was in Saudi Arabia because everybody was sitting out at the smoke shack.
Yeah.
And it's like that's where everybody hung out, and it's like I didn't smoke.
Right.
But I didn't want to sit in my barracks room.
And oddly enough, and this is going to sound weird, and I'm sure some lung surgeon is going to tell me I'm wrong, but when you're breathing in all that dirt and stuff, sometimes having that smoke that's not the chemical fire smoke is soothing. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, the guys that are doing better from the
we're the smokers,
the
burn pits and stuff.
Pits, the burn pits. The guys that were smokers were the guys that didn't have as much of the effects on their lungs as. I
couldn't breathe when I got back. Just could not breathe. I couldn't run. I was collapsed anytime I go for a run. But luckily, I'm a little better now. But I might be hurting later after smoking this.
Well, it's like I was a desert. My roommate when I was in Saudi was a Desert Storm vet, and when we got back. When we deployed to Saudi Arabia, the moment we got into country, about maybe a week after we got in country, he started breaking out in hives.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, he didn't know what the hell was going on. And it was that,
and you get the people with the lungs, they start coughing up and
yeah, and it's like
the funk.
He's like, is it the desert? Is it the equipment that we're using? Because all the equipment we had was left over from the first Gulf War.
Oh yeah, all the chemicals, all the VX.
If there's any of that nerve agent in the air at the time when he was over there and it got on the trucks, the desert preserves all that shit.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it doesn't go bad.
So, yeah, but thanks for having us out. I appreciate it. The meat was amazing. The steak was awesome. I can't believe
that was so good.
Of course, so good.
I'm not gonna, it was. We killed it. We smashed that. It was so good.
Yeah, it's like so.
Just eating it with our fingers like cannibals.
Yeah, well, sometimes that's the best way to eat it. I think that's cowboy style.
Oh
right
yeah,
there. Just eat it right out here.
You can't beat cooking a steak on the ranch and
on the fire meat.
You can't beat
cigars, whiskey. Come on,
you can't beat that. It's a great way to decompress after a long week, and to just let it out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming out, and you did an excellent job cooking that steak.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you letting me do it, and appreciate the steaks. Those were wonderful, and look forward to seeing from you in the future, getting some more beef from you. And if you want a longhorn cattle skull with the horns and stuff on it,
skulls, and I've got hides. We try to do the whole animal approach, so I have to find another person to do the hides because the previous guy doesn't do them anymore. But I have about 5 or 6 still in stock, and these aren't the Wish.com ones you see online that are made by little Chinese kids or whatever, or South American. These are real, made in Georgia by a Georgian artisanal, taxidermist shop. Make some great rugs. And I've got skulls too. I've got a variety of different sizes of skulls.
Yeah, the one I have on my channel under my backdrop that came from here, it doesn't have the what are those the sleeves, the horn sleeves? The shell. Yeah. It doesn't have the shells on it, but it's still the.
But I have some with the shells and everything that just they're clean and you just got to polish them up.
Yep. But if you're interested in some of that stuff, even if you're not looking for the beef, he's got the hides, and if you want like a throw rug or a throw blanket for the sofa at home, or you're wanting some wall art for the man cave with the skulls and stuff, man, hit him up on Facebook, Tackett Family Farm. He'll hook you up, and man, just thank you so much. And I appreciate being out here.
It was a good time, man. It was a good time. I'm glad the weather cooperated. And
absolutely. Yeah, it was horrible yesterday.
Oh.
It was rain like cats and dogs.
Started early this morning. I've been up since like 2 or 3.
Yeah. But anyway, well, hey guys, like, share, subscribe.
We need to do another one. I need to throw something in there, and hopefully it makes the final cut. My wife is also a 20-year Air Force veteran. So at some point in time, we need to find something to have you back out and maybe cook something with her. She loves the little filet mignons. Maybe we'll do little filet mignons.
There you go. That sounds good.
And like a sweet potato or something. And we can have you out again. Let you go through some other ones, and we'll do a cook and talk to her about doing it. I always want to make sure I don't leave her out when we're doing this stuff. She's part of this as well.
She supports you.
Yeah. I couldn't do all of this without her help.
Yeah. She takes care of the house while you take care of the farm.
A lot of times I am out here by myself doing it because it is peaceful and it's a good way to be by myself. I've got two boys that help me as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing I've noticed when I've come out here to do work on the property, because my other job is a handyman. I've done work for you and stuff, and it's been really nice to be out here. It's a little noisy with the cicadas right now, but I mean, all we're hearing is cicadas, birds, and the cows, and sometimes the goats. Because you do have a couple of goats over there, but those are pets, right?
Yeah.
They're not. They're just
pets.
They're just pets.
Weed eaters.
Weed eaters. There you go. But thanks so much. I appreciate it, man. It's been an awesome time. And if you like this video, I plan on doing more of them. So comment below how much you like this video. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I've got to edit it. All of it might go in. Half of it might go in. A quarter of it might go in. I don't know, but whatever the case is, we're gonna try and. Hey everyone, so sorry about that. Video cut short due to lack of storage on the phone. So I'll do better next time. I had probably I had probably an hour and a half of video from the cook with Chad out at the Tackett Family Farm. It was a great day. We had talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of different places, from supply chain, national security stuff, to just farm life for him, meat, all that kind of stuff. And I will probably do a video where it's just the long form of just everything kind of unedited. But you're going to be getting this shorter edited version. But we talked for nearly an hour without the cook, after we cooked, about just all kinds of stuff, his military service, his life, and then about veterans, and things like that. So just, keep that in mind. Check it out if you're interested in seeing the long form. Keep an eye out for it on the channel. This will probably be in there, so if you're getting to the end of it, you're probably at the end of that channel as well, of that show as well. But this is something new. This is a new venture with the mobile kitchen setup, where I'm interviewing a veteran who is in the supply chain, or just someone that I wanted to talk to and cook with. When I go to Normandy in France, I'll be probably doing something similar to that in the next month. So keep an eye out for those videos as well. But thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment below if you really like this video. If you want to see the longer stuff when I do a live interview, I know the shorter is better with just the cooking and me telling somebody a story. But if the live interviews, I think, could probably go longer, because there's a lot more stuff there that could be gone over. But anyway, let me know what you think below. Have a great day.